Ozzy! Ozzy! Ozzy!
Eggman, what the fuck? Why are you here? Ozyas isn't coming back. I already told you that ages ago.
Look, I understand that. However, yeet!
Ow! Oh, thanks, asshole. Eggman, this is a Dr. Crafty video.
And?
Did you wake up and choose violence today?
Well, he did put me on the list.
Of course you chose violence.
But it is also a bad list.
Are you sure? Because if you are lying, I will invoke that one Sinnoh myth.
Oh, when have I ever steered you wrong? Don't answer that.
Yeah, roll the intro. So for those of you who haven't seen The Good Doctor, Dr. Crafty is an art channel that primarily focuses on speed art videos of all sorts, ranging from his main series to some side series like Kara Cafe and the Shake Up Salon. Among these side series is the Top 10 Tub, a series focused on making top 10 videos based around a particular subject. And since Dr. Crafty is doing a Sonic month currently, he decided to make a Sonic themed countdown, particularly his first negative countdown about the worst Sonic characters. And sadly, it seems that his experiment with a negative list has backfired. How so? Well, my viewers, why don't we dissect this list to figure that out?
No, I had to sacrifice my fucking monkey just to switch the Quack Attack. God damn it!
Wait, what? Really, Talk? How can you hate on such a fellow mad scientist? Especially one with such staying power as Dr. Eggman.
Well, it's not the fact that I hate Eggman per se. More specifically, I hate this particular iteration of Eggman. Let me explain my reasoning. Modern Sonic games have all shared similar formulas. Eggman finds a supernatural entity, attempts to exploit it. It's either too powerful for him to control, or it betrays him. And then he swoops in at the end to act as the final boss when the primary threat is defeated by Sonic. He's just not a major player in most Sonic games. At best, he's a contributor to an inciting incident.
I would disagree with you on that being the exact formula, particularly when it comes to the ending. While yes, the examples shown are about Eggman trying to exploit something powerful for his own benefit, none of them end the way that you say they do, with one exception. To go down the list, while Chaos goes out of control, Eggman isn't the final boss, as it is instead perfect Chaos. Infinite never betrayed Eggman and Sonic Forces, as he simply faded away after the third battle with him, and we see the Phantom Ruby be used by Eggman. Mephiles is a weird one, since while technically he would have been exploited by Eggman thanks to being one half of Solaris, Eggman was much more interested in Iblis, since that was the half that concerned Elise. And again, Solaris is the final boss, not Eggman. The Sonic Colors one is also a weird example, since Eggman wasn't even screwed over by the Negawiss energy until after the final boss with him. And it wasn't even because of the energy in question, it was because the place was malfunctioning thanks to Sonic wrecking the area earlier around the first boss. Like, the only example that follows your formula to an absolute T is the Lost Worlds example. But even then, that's 1 out of 5. Not exactly that many. I think it would have been better to simply leave it as Eggman often tries to exploit something to gain an advantage, only for it to backfire, as that makes a more Sonic game plots than your formula does. Also, I wouldn't necessarily say that Eggman isn't a major player in most Sonic games, as he still usually is the main obstacle for several characters in the games you use as examples. As an example, Eggman is still a primary threat even with Chaos around, as he is the one who is keeping him around, and sending robots like the E-Series of robots to get the Chaos Emeralds in order to make Chaos stronger in Adventure 1. Eggman is the main reason why there's even a war in Forces. Eggman literally is the only bad guy in Colors, and as such, him and his robots are the main threat. Eggman is one of the main obstacles in the Sonic Route of 06, and if you don't mind me bringing in my own example, may I remind you that Unleash this man literally started the Time of Awakening and broke the planet just so he can get Sonic out of the way to build his Eggman land that we see in game. Like, Dude, I know there are a few games where Eggman is the backseat to another villain being the main threat, such as Neo, Metal Sonic, and Sonic Heroes, but it's definitely not as bad as you make it out to be.
That's a fair point. It does sorta undermine your menace as a villain when you're always getting someone more evil to do the work for you most of the time.
How so? Especially since one can make the argument that Eggman can still be seen as menacing, given that this guy was able to get strong fuse such as Shadow and Infinite on his side and keep them on his side for such a long time. Especially since Eggman can be busy doing any potential planning to make sure that his victory is ensured, while the people that he has as henchmen can basically keep Sonic and Co. busy enough to not bother him. Having henchmen doesn't suddenly make you any less of a villain. If anything, it adds to it, given that it implies that the villain has other things to do than to entertain the chaos of the good guys.
I have my plan. Watch this trick.
Die.
No!
Ooh boy, okay. Remember when I said Eggman likes to outsource his plans to other supernatural entities? Well, this band of Technicolor twits easily fall at the bottom of the tier list of those villains.
The entire Zeddy crew all share the same problems. They all have generic and bland personalities, none of them have any interesting backstories or character development, and they basically serve as standard thugs to Eggman.
Their whole existence seems to be just a bunch of half-baked ideas that were never fully fleshed out. What's the Lost Hex? Why do they live there? How are they able to control electronics? Why do they hate the sound of this weird conch shell that's never explained, by the way?
So I'm gonna go down these in order since there is technically an answer for each of them that was presented in game. For the first question, Lost Hex could just be assumed to be an area separate from the one that Sonic is originally from, and they just live there due to it being their homeland. Especially since the Lost Hex is an area that includes lands made of beehives, sweets, and tropical areas that grow fruit double the size of Sonic, especially given the dialogue in the intro. I'll grant you it's never explained what the Lost Hex is in the game or any supplementary material, these are just assumptions, but you can't say the same for the other two as they at least get hand-waved through either dialogue or cutscenes. Speaking of your next two questions, for your second question about the Zeddy's power, Eggman literally explains after the Zeddy are out of his control that they have an innate ability to manipulate magnetic fields, which allows them to control the robots. And for the final question, it's literally implied by the effects on the conch and the Zeddy's reaction to it that it causes them pain if they hear it. It's also implied by Eggman stating that he used the conch to control their powers, that the conch inhibits their magnetic manipulation abilities, making them effectively useless underneath its control.
My cacophonic conch was the only thing keeping those 6 maniacs in check.
Some sort of a natural inhibitor to their powers. Very painful.
This is implied through the context clues given to you in the game, Dr. Graffy. I understand you wanting your villain to have a little bit more depth, but don't magically ignore what depth the game gives you in order to make your point.
And then there's their designs, which basically ignore any of the Sonic design guidelines that we've seen in the past or future games. They look so out of place among the Sonic characters.
That's because they're supposed to be messy. They literally are a race of demons who are implied to have grown in an environment that is so different from Sonic's world that is considered almost otherworldly in nature. Of course they aren't going to look like anyone that we've seen before or since. I thought a maid was supposed to be good at keeping things nice and tidy, because quite frankly, Messy, you aren't helping make the Doctor's point any cleaner.
The fact that Sonic Lost World lifts so many of its gameplay elements from Mario Galaxy games leads me to believe that these villains weren't made with the design principles of Sonic's universe in mind, but rather Mario's instead. I would even go so far as to say that if one were to plop the Deadly Six in a modern-day Mario title, no one would be the wiser. I mean, just look at Zavok. He's basically a recolored Bowser.
Literally, how? Zavok looks more humanoid, has a long thin tail, and has large horns. Bowser is an anthro turtle, has tiny horns, and has a short stubby tail. Outside of physically looking big and some bracelets, these two look nothing alike. You know, joke this falls so flat for how different the two are visually that you have an easier time convincing me that Yokai Watch is a Pokemon ripoff. And people who know me know how hard it is to do that.
I have compound eyes. How did that miss?
To start things off, not only is his concept and backstory overdone and derivative, he was introduced in one of the most infamous Sonic titles for its numerous glitches, bugs, and frankly baffling story and art direction.
Cool, how does someone being introduced in a bad game with glitches affect his character? Crafty, please tell me you didn't hit your head too hard today. I am genuinely concerned.
Then there's also the fact that he's just kind of an idiot. Oh yeah, I totally trust this evil-looking guy with evil eyes and time travel powers I just met who tells me that a blue hedgehog caused a fire demons to take over the world. Sure, I'll go back in time with you and kill them. Even Blaze the cat is like, I don't know, should we trust this guy? And Silver's just like, chill fam, we got this.
Yes, because how dare he trust a guy who seems to be knowledgeable about stopping a being that literally could not be stopped in his broken timeline, especially since Silver was at that point tired and frustrated for having to keep up an endless fight. Look, I understand if you don't like how naive Silver was, but like, can you at least try to understand where the character was coming from before you mock him for doing a dumb move?
His voice is super whiny sounding, his head quills look frigging stupid, and he has psychokinetic powers because that's his defining trait, I guess. What are we supposed to believe, that it's something that hedgehogs have in the future?
Crafty, we are literally talking about the same series where we have a blue hedgehog who can somehow hit Mach speed and use the energy of magic gems to manipulate time and space, a purple cat who can control fire naturally, a fox who was born with 2 tails, and a rabbit who can use her own ears to fly and carry both a pink hedgehog who can wield a heavy hammer and Big the cat. I don't think our suspension of disbelief can magically be broken because a hedgehog who is from the future can develop psychokinesis.
And let's not forget the most infamous reason why we hate Silver.
It's no use! It's no use! It's no use! It's no...
He's already dead.
Damn, I think you guys should listen to Blaze, especially since you're criticizing Silver for something that was a problem with his boss fight, not exactly his character. Also, maybe it's just me, but why did you put so much emphasis on how he was in his debut game and not his other appearances? Especially since I argue they do his character more justice than how he was portrayed in 06. For example, in Sonic Rivals, Silver is on a mission to find Eggman Nega in order to bring him back to the future and stop him from turning people into cars. Here, he is focused on his mission to stop Eggman Nega and is shown to be perceiving when it comes to seeing through Eggman Nega's disguises, but he's also shown to be competitive around others such as with Sonic. In Rivals 2, Silver comes from the future once again to hide Chao from Eggman Nega, so that a powerful beast known as the Ifrit cannot reach his full power. He pairs with Espio due to Vector ordering Espio to stick with Silver, and while Espio was annoyed at first, the two became close allies with a common goal in mind, usually helping one another out. In the DS version of Colors, he comes back with Blaze where they give Sonic challenges to do. He is friendly towards both Sonic and Tails and even suggests that he and Blaze are close as well. In Generations, due to Time Eater bullshittery, Silver thinks that Sonic is an imposter and challenges him to a fight. After Silver loses, Silver happily hands over his Chaos Armor and ends up cheering Sonic and Classic Sonic on during the final boss. And finally, in Sonic Forces, well, he's both an optimist and a realist. He is focused on the war situation and how bad it has gotten, but he's still shown to be fighting and never giving up, even when he was against Infinite. Based on these games, Silver is shown to be friendly and kind to others, perspective, albeit also naive due to being isolated for most of his life, and also a bit competitive with others like Sonic. There is much more to his character than what 06 presents us, and honestly I feel like it would have helped to at least know this before making this list, as without looking beyond 06, it feels like you're hating Silver for the crime of having a bad debut.
Aw, come on, Crafty. Hasn't Infinite been mocked enough? Especially by us?
Yes, but you can never have too much of a good thing.
Still, we've already talked about him in our funniest characters list. What else can we say?
Well, Nessie, I wanted to talk more specifically about his character before becoming Infinite. 'Cause, I mean, look at him. He was trying too hard to be edgy even before putting on his Kylo Ren mask.
Yeah, he does look like something a 12-year-old would come up with based on the things he saw on his older brother's Slipknot poster in his room.
I am not seeing it. Like, what about the design is trying too hard to be edgy? Honestly, at least to me, this looks more like your standard Sonic design rather than edgy. Unless heterochromia is now considered edgy. But then that means the gun commander from Shadow the Hedgehog is now dubbed edgy. Oh boy.
And for some dumb reason, they give him an edgy sword that they just drop the moment Infinite gets his plot device ruby. It really goes to show that nobody could agree on a direction to take this character when Sonic Forces was in development. Is he a genetic experiment? A mercenary that was just randomly given reality-altering powers? Why does he want to destroy Sonic so badly when Shadow is the one that made him have his little temper tantrum and put on the stupid helmet in the first place?
Okay, let's go down the list. Is Infinite an experiment or is he just a mercenary who was given power? The answer is a simple mix of both. It was explained in the Forces Cons that he was the leader of a mercenary group and that he had joined Eggman after a failed raid. Then in episode Shadow, after his group was taken out and he was the only one left, he decided to attain the power of the Phantom Ruin not only as a means of becoming stronger, but also to abandon his weak past self. It's not that hard of a concept to wrap your head around. Why can't the writers decide to combine ideas? Also, to answer the why go after Sonic and not Shadow, it's cause that's his job? Like, he is still a mercenary who's under Eggman's orders. He is going after Sonic because that is just what Eggman ordered to do. And it's not like he didn't also go after Shadow. After all, episode Shadow is explicitly about how Infinite is messing with Shadow in a virtual reality that he created, as well as making copies of Shadow under the orders of Eggman to make it seem like Shadow went evil again. Strange how you are willing to make fun of the backstory that was in episode Shadow, but seem to ignore the trapping Shadow in a virtual reality bit.
Need I say more?
Yes, actually. You do need to explain more because what am I supposed to get from you blasting Charmy's voice lines at us? You are the presenter. You need to present.
I made my Bird Sonic OC way before these guys existed. Just putting that out there.
Really? That's why you don't like these guys?
Merely a disclaimer. No, the real reason I don't like these three is because they're just so derivative of the main Sonic trio. Jet is just an angrier Sonic. Wave is just Tails but as a girl bird. And Storm is what happens when you put Big the Cat and Knuckles in a blender and pour the resulting ooze in a bird-shaped mold. And I don't ever want to visualize that statement ever again, thank you very much.
Wow, I can't believe you managed to get these guys wrong, especially given the differences between the Babylon Rogues and Team Sonic. Starting with Jet, while both Sonic and Jet can be cocky motherfuckers, Jet takes that to the next level by being very arrogant, prideful, lazy given his role as leader, and greedy as fuck. In comparison to Sonic, who is more compassionate, kind, and while he might act snarky, is still serious when it comes to helping others and saving the world. Wave is just as smart as Tails, but whereas Tails is kind, humble, and sometimes timid, Wave is arrogant, a trash talker, and overall more unpleasant person to be around. In short, Wave's a bitch. And while you are almost correct in your assessment of Storm and how he is much dumber than Knuckles in comparison, Storm is also loyal to Jet to a near fault in comparison to Knuckles, who has an active friendly rivalry with Sonic to this day. Did you pay attention to when these guys were on screen?
I'm getting ready for the trick. Was it today?
Get ready for this trick.
This shit, Azzy? It's not funny.
I have to ask, who is responsible for this? Who thought it would be a great idea to have Sonic the cartoon hedgehog, have a love story with a photorealistic Final Fantasy character? Do they need some help? I'm not a therapist, but I do have a hammer to help with their brain damage. Causing it anyway.
You're really savage today, Doc. Careful, you might go werehog on us.
Nessie, I am 8 pages into this video. Don't tempt me, young lady. I will smite you.
No, please, that mental mishap is lucky I only have 10 spots on these lists. Number 11 at best.
But he's literally just Sonic in a different form that doesn't change his character to even emphasize it in Unleash. What the fuck?
Anyway, Princess Elise. How on earth do you have a princess get kidnapped so many times in a single game? Even Princess Peach limits herself to 1 kidnapping per title.
Oof. Yeah, that's a yikes from me, Chief.
I don't know what you were expecting from a defenseless princess who really can't do anything against robots made to get her, especially the people who are trying to defend her keep getting distracted. I mean, unless we are counting the time she offered herself to save her people, but then we are getting mad at the character for putting the lives of her people over her own safety. That's dumb. Especially since it isn't like Elise just lets herself get kidnapped, rescued, rinse and repeat. After all, after Sonic was sent to the future, she made an attempt to escape with the help of Amy. Another time, she straight up told Edgar she would rather die than give him what he wants, and was willing to follow through on that by falling off his Eggmobile while it was in the air. And again, the one time she willingly went to Eggman was when Eggman threatened to hurt her people, and she decided to put the lives of the people that she rules over and cares about over her own. I get being upset at 06's usage of Elise being a damsel in distress, but to be honest, that feels like more of a problem with 06's writing and not Elise as a character, especially given the few times when she tries to not just be a helpless damsel.
You gotta, look on the bright side, sis. Think of all the slurping smiles your slopping will bring.
So yeah, between being the absolute worst damsel in distress ever, having a romantic relationship with an anthropomorphic hedgehog, and causing the apocalypse by crying, this princess is well on her way to back alley furry meetups that I plan to steer clear from.
Why are you blaming Elise for the release of Solaris? That literally wasn't her fault. Dude, can we maybe not do that? I don't even think Elise is that good of a character, but dude, focus on the parts that involve her character being poorly written, please.
Meow?
Big the cat.
Dude, no, that TP reference is too easy to make. I'd rather save it for the one that's more special.
Just why?
Big the Cat made his debut in Sonic Adventure as a playable character, where his gameplay was centered around fishing. Basically created to show off the gameplay engines that the Dreamcast was capable at the time. Just look at how many fishing games Sega had made over the years. It's kinda crazy.
It's bad enough they created a character around arguably the most boring of pastimes.
Why are you putting a character on a worst characters list for gameplay? I would like to not revisit the Countdown days of old.
But someone thought it was a brilliant idea to make him... Well, there's no delicate way to sugarcoat this. Mentally handicapped.
Oh, please, Crafty. You don't think that maybe Big is just simple-minded? I mean, considering he's a fisherman who's been living in a swampy jungle bio his whole life, I really don't want to think about any potential origins of his mental condition.
Doctor, please listen to Bessie. This video is already in the yikes zone. I'm in pain. Also, to paraphrase a certain X-Countdown artist, this just in, simple-minded slow people are worse than bestiality. If that ain't a statement, I don't know what is. Anyway, after this is a segment on Froggy, no, I am not joking, and a foreshadowing moment for Secret Lore stuff. And if we were going off that moment and this whole top 10 was a ploy to get us involved in the plot, then I will happily take the L because otherwise this list was bad. It mostly kind of just shares some of the same issues that Countdowns of old have, ranging from not understanding the characters, to using gameplay as a point when it has no effect on the character's character, to not explaining yourself in some cases, and so on and so forth. Honestly, my only real advice here would be to take what I have said in mind and to also maybe think for a countdown like this. I know you tend to focus more on entertainment value and less on thinking about points, and usually that works for most of your positive lists where you are gushing about the topic at hand. However, when you're doing a negative list and are trying to criticize and explain why a character is bad, then you kinda have to think a bit more, as not doing so gets you, well, this countdown. And I hope you can at least apply this for potentially next season if you choose to do another negative top 10. I say next season because I do know you basically have the rest of season 4 done, and I'd rather give this advice for the future. Alright, I'm done covering the video and defending your honor, Eggman.
Thank you so much!
No problem. Now I'm gonna go back to drawing my OCs. Maybe do a digital painting, who knows.
Hey, why don't you do what this guy does? Like the whole speed art with commentary and stuff.
I might. It just kind of depends on what I feel like. Besides, I have college and a job. That stuff kind of takes time. Still, not a bad idea.
This shit, Azzy, it's not funny. I'm gonna come over there, you know? I'm gonna fucking come up to you. I'm gonna, like, you can't just fucking take my suffering, put it on fucking YouTube and be like, haha, look, Avi ate shit at Pokemon. Haha. I'm gonna fucking walk up, I'm gonna take your stupid ass nose right off your face, and I'm gonna put it on top of my fireplace, alright? And then when Keyblade comes over, trying to get it back, 43 trucks will fall exactly where he's standing, killing him instantly.